Most people think that TSM's going to win. We're the underdogs going into this match. I think it's going to be a really tough battle, but we can definitely pull it off.
플레이오프에서 솔직히 가장 쉬운 상대를 만난 것 같거든요. 그래서 그래피티 만난 거에 굉장히 저희 만족하고 있고요.
I think Bjergsen's fallen off a lot lately. If Kian gets a good matchup and he doesn't get camped mid, he'll actually beat Bjergsen.
Kian definitely has some surprise picks. That definitely does throw Bjergsen up.
We still feel comfortable because first of all, it's the best of 5.
TSM is a pretty clutch team when it comes to best of 5s. We adapt.
A player's biggest asset is to be able to reset, and if you can't reset, you'll be stuck in the past.
Last time we played TSM, we just outdrafted them in every way. They won't expect our champion picks.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we can take them down. Even though we went 1-1, the whole season includes the playoffs, and that's where anything can really change.
I think TSM is pretty weak right now, so I'm pretty confident for our match. I know I'll be Dyers for sure.
TSM as a team has always made it to playoffs, oftentimes won playoffs and always made it to the world, so I'm not going to let that down.
Welcome to day 2 of the 2015 Summer Playoffs, coming to you live from our studios here in Los Angeles, California. The fans are packed in and ready for another important matchup that will shape the playoff race. As you see in the crowd, plenty of cheers. TSM heading into the studio just a short time ago and out to defend their North American crown. They're going to be facing off against Gravity, and here's their shot caller, Bunny Fufu, and Alltech getting ready in the locker room. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson. It's great to have you back with us as the teams continue their march towards Madison Square Garden. Anchoring the analyst desk with me are Sam Kobe Hartman-Kensler and David Freak Turley. Yeah! We did it! We nailed it! All right. Well, with one quarterfinal down, let's see how the bracket looks. Team Impulse swept their series against Team Dignitas. In addition to securing their place in the semifinals to face off against Counterlogic Gaming, Impulse has guaranteed a minimum of 40 championship points. Add those to their 30 points from the spring split, and Team Impulse have locked in a spot in the regional qualifier. That means Team Dignitas are knocked out of contention for the World Championship. But their loss is Gravity's gain, and they are now guaranteed a spot in the regional qualifier as well. Of course, there's still a little matter of the title of North American champions to settle first. So with that in mind, let's jump right into today's quarterfinal matchup. Gravity versus TSM. Over the course of the summer split, both of these teams reached the top of the league only to suffer dramatic drop-offs at the end.
Yeah, and I want to start by talking about Gravity for a bit, because at one point they were the #1 team in North America. They looked so incredibly strong. The new guy Move came in and did awesome. All-Tech fit right in as AD carry, and this team worked so well, and then it disappeared. Right? And to talk about Move a little bit, he was the ward leader by so much. He was second place in wards placed, first place in wards killed. He was just absolutely wonderful as a player, and then for some reason the last 2 weeks it just disappeared. He put wards down again, but he started dying so many more times per game, and the whole Team Gravity game plan just fell apart.
Yeah, it really has declined in recent weeks, so they've got to turn it around here. Gravity, they're definitely one of the most diverse teams in Champion Select, and it's a really big tool that they have that they've been able to use in best-of-1 scenarios. It's going to be harder for them in best-of-5s. You know, champions that they've already been able to flex around to multiple lanes like Rumble, Shen, Heckram, Jarvan, Nautilus, of course Urgot, and things like this as well for surprise picks. Those are really big things for Gravity on red side when they can guarantee counter pick. But historically, TSM, they performed really well in best-of-5 situations when they have time to alter their game plan between games. And it's going to be very important for Gravity and their coach, or against Gravity, for their coach Loco Doco to not only help them in between games to adjust, after something like a loss, but on stage as well in Champion Select. They can't afford to have another event like MSI, where they were faced with a different champion in Champ Select like Cassiopeia top, and they go into the game with no game plan, and they flounder around, and they crash and burn. This team, Gravity, is the most likely team in North America to do that to them, so they have to be ready for it.
Right, and our champions, TSM, have struggled throughout the regular season and made some big changes to try and right the ship. First, they brought on Keith to try out for the AD carry role. Then Reginald stepped in to have a bigger role in the team's coaching, but nothing has returned TSM to form, and now they're starting playoffs with the lowest seeding they've ever had.
Yeah, this is where a lot of the pressure comes for a lot of these players as well. You know, we talked about Reggie coming in, but also the low finish. It seems like a lot of the players on this team are kind of scared to make mistakes, and they don't really feel empowered to make game-changing plays besides Bjergsen. You know, even when Lustboy does go for initiations, they don't have the communication and the coordination to follow up on it. Now, there is also the tendency of TSM recently to play very long games, the longest average games in North American LCS, and they have the lowest cumulative kills per minute of both them and their opponents in those games at 0.59, I think, which just goes to show that there's a lot less action in TSM games. Yeah. Often, you know, because they're playing poke champions and they're trying to delay, but it's this very risk-averse style, and they're also averse to any sort of confrontation, it seems like.
Yeah, and this is, I think, a big failing point of TSM, because I think actually playing aggressively is a good thing in League of Legends. Like, you should have multiple kills in your games. And honestly, even though Bjergsen himself is an amazing player and the TSM formula for success, or at least their just formula, because it's, you know, only moderately successful, is Bjergsen goes off, Bjergsen hard carries. Okay, Bjergsen's great, right? He is the damage leader in North America. He is second place behind Doublelift in kills. Like, he is phenomenal. The pressure's on his shoulders, and he's still holding up the world like he's Atlas. But the problem is TSM needs someone else to do well on this team. Way back when, Chaos was actually a good cleanup AD carry. When Wild Turtle first joined TSM, he was a great cleanup AD carry. He'd actually play aggressively sometimes and get resets. Like, if you go to, like, watch old TSM playoffs, Turtle gets like a quadra kill in a team fight on Tristana because he's there as supplemental damage. But right now, that's not happening. Turtle is, I think, the lowest damage dealing AD carry in North America right now. And some of that, again, is, as you talk about, poke teams and whatnot. But the fact that no one's really there and set up to be a secondary threat there is a huge problem. And even to spin that into champion select, when you've got champions like mid Jarvan and mid Urgot being almost commonplace, those are really good against single threat teams, because you dive the single threat and then TSM has nothing left in their comp. So those are things that I think we need to see Dyrus or Turtle show up as damage threats.
Yeah, the game where Gravity beat TSM in the regular season, they designed their entire composition around killing the AP Ezreal, diving to the backline and killing Bjergsen, and it worked out.
We talk about TSM needing more than just their players to perform, Loco Doco needing to step up. Well, a short time ago, Riv spoke with TSM's coach to get an insider's perspective on the series.
Hey everyone, Rivington here in the Esports Lounge, joined by Loco Doco. Loco, a huge match versus Gravity today. You guys have had weeks to prepare for it, but I want to step back a little bit and look at the split in general. A few mishaps here and there. You guys have had some troublesome spots. What have you done to remedy those situations?
We've gone really back to basics, fixed a lot of our fundamental problems. We haven't had to done anything dramatic. I feel like with our team, all the pieces are there, and it's about putting it in the right way and fixing the basic problems we had with communication and how we use our jungle early, and our team looks a lot better now.
And is Reginald still stepping in for a bit of a voice, or are you guys trying to wean off of that and more back to coaching position?
Reggie's still very hands-on. He's with us there for all the scrim sets. I mean, he's doing less than he first started, but he's definitely there and leading the charge.
And Loco, you guys have had some time off now to prepare for this game coming, and a lot of people feel that that will benefit Team SoloMid. What have you done in these weeks to prepare, and what do you think of that?
Well, to prep for Gravity, I mean, it's the same thing as I said earlier. They are a pretty inexperienced team in terms of playoff, and we're really experienced. We handle pressure just fine, so make sure our basics are solid. Nothing too flashy, nothing too new, and just beat them the good old TSM way.
The good old TSM way. What is that way? Because Gravity has come out with great pick and ban phase. They understand now what to do in the early game with Bunny Fufu shot calling. How do you feel like that matchup is going to go today? Final question, Loco.
In terms of shot calling?
Oh, just in terms of the match in general. With Gravity having all those strong points coming through the season, how do you feel TSM is going to do today?
I think we might drop one game to something we didn't expect, or if they have something really, really well prepped. But after that, I think our basics will just carry us through. Our good laning, our good early game pressure, our good team fight will just carry us through.
A lot of pros there, Loco. Best of luck in the matchup. I know it's going to be a tough one. Hopefully TSM is prepared well. We're going to now throw it back to the guys at their desk.
Well, we heard it there. He identified a lot of the same issues that we pointed out. Now the question is whether or not they've made the proper adjustments, and we'll find out soon enough. Now, as we throw it over to our caster desk to kick off the games, Lustboy tells us he's feeling confident in their matchup against Gravity.
플레이오프에서 솔직히 가장 쉬운 상대를 만난 것 같거든요. 그래서 그래비티 만난 거에 굉장히 저희 만족하고 있고요. 아마 그래비티전은 아마 3대0이나 3대1로 정도로 이기고 다음 플레이오프를 별로 걱정 없이 준비할 수 있을 것 같아요.
Interesting stuff from Lustboy. Hello, everyone. I'm Rivington Business III, and these dapper gentlemen are Joshua Jet Leeson and Aiden Cyrene Moon. It's going to be a pleasure casting with you two today.
You got up here real fast, Riv.
I was ready. I was so ready for this game. Right after interviewing Loco, I sprinted. I knew I had to be here for you guys. It's going to be good. You ready to carry me?
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Let's check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's Gravity. Lustboy saying it was the easiest one to get. We'll have to find out. Haunter in the top lane, Move in the jungle, Keen in mid. Alltech at AD carry, and Bunny Fufu at support with Coach Kopp as always.
And on the red side, Lustboy sitting the side, see this TSM, Dyrus in the top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid lane, Wild Turtle on AD carry with Lustboy on support, and Locodoco calling the picks and bans.
Lustboy could be right. I mean, he's been dealing with Gravity all of his life, so maybe they do have the upper hand here. Everybody's been dealing with Gravity for their entire life. Zyrene looked at me like, what are you talking about? These guys have been playing since birth? But in that, hearing Loco saying they have more playoff potential, they've been here before, is actually going to be very big. That experience is huge.
Yeah, the experience gap is absolutely huge because Gravity, for when you look at them, all intents and purposes, is actually a fairly new squad. New jungler this split, Alltech coming in as well. This is actually Alltech's first playoff appearance.
That's true. Yeah, and when we look at how much they kind of fumbled the pressure on later in the season for Gravity as well, dealing with pressure, dealing with the inexperience, it could be a big changer in this game here. TSM with the experience, although they have also been struggling lately. So it's going to be a super interesting series.
One thing I'm kicking myself for is asking Loco how the scrims went, because that's always been a big leader for TSM, is they'll flip the other way on the way scrims have been going. It felt so good going into this tournament, and then everything is just wiped clean. It's like there was no good.
And so much changes, too, when a patch comes out and you have extra weeks to practice it. You can even see a Diana ban coming out already targeted towards Bjergsen in the mid lane. And that's most likely not even just a Runeblade, right? It got nerfed. Yeah, so I'm actually very curious as to why we're seeing this Diana. It must have had something to do with the scrims.
Gravity definitely getting a lot of focus bans towards that mid lane, unless Santorin would be thinking of taking one of that Diana pick towards the jungle. Not something we have seen. Rumble and Janna to be banned as well from Team SoloMid side. That Rumble is a flex pick that Gravity can use, so a good double ban there by TSM.
And they've only picked it on blue side as well for Keen in the mid lane.
Right.
Yeah, Gravity as well have generally found success when they can flex pick champions. We're also wondering what jungling champion pools are going to be like. Cyrene and I, we were discussing this before, and whether or not we see the Nidalee ban right here, or if we see TSM leave it up and just trade power junglers. I feel like Elise and Nidalee are the two power junglers on this patch, and the question will also be whether TSM allows Santorin to play Nidalee, because he's such a good Nidalee in the spring split. He had a ton of success on it, but he has really been relegated to just playing Gragas and Rek'Sai, and it looks like they're kind of opting in to either play against Nidalee or play it themselves. I'd expect a Nidalee first pick right here.
Yeah, and with 2 support bans, that just means we're going to go with
Shen first pick.
So that could be a support. That is another flex pick for Gravity here. It could be going to Bunny Fufu.
But do they play the flex game too much over actually getting a priority pick that goes by?
Yes, that's going to be the question, because most of their success has come from playing flex picks. When they've gained most advantages out of pick and bans, a lot of it was the surprise factor they had over the opponent.
Interesting.
Whereas now I really wonder what type of surprise they will get, because everyone knows that Bunny Fufu could absolutely play Shen. They're preparing for both of the circumstances. At least in a perfect world, that's the way Locodoco has been playing.
I'm extremely surprised by the priority on Shen, because if it is a Bunny Fufu champion, you still have Thresh available for him. You could have taken a Braum later on as well, but they take the Braum away on TSM side, and it looks like they're just setting up for Siege on TSM. And Gravity, they might be going for global pressure here, having a composition that was working for them. You go back to when Gravity was winning a bunch of games, Tristana was a big pick for them, Shen was a big pick for them, and then we were saying you have to ban these out because that's a strategy they keep running to win.
Does the Elise go all the way through here? It looks like the Eve may be the pick. A blind pick mid lane could be the Azir getting locked in, actually, in Team SoloMid. We'll answer with a Sivir pickup after Trist is also grabbed for Alltech.
one other thing we do need to mention in this series is the importance we feel on having the red side, especially when looking at how Keen will perform in lane. He has performed very poorly when he hasn't been able to counterpick the mid lane. He actually has the most variance in his performance in lane. One of the best laners when he gets the last counterpick, being able to get double-digit CS at 10 advantages almost every time he's on red side. But on blue side, he's a negative differential. And now, with the Azir being telegraphed, that's not a pick you flex in the current meta. So Bjergsen will know exactly what he's going up against. And I'm expecting a counterpick from Bjergsen on this Azir.
Which makes it even more curious that Gravity selected blue side for game 1, and they put this much priority onto Shen. Because that's what this whole pick is for, is you get that first pick priority. So there's a strategy here that we may not know, or it may just be them going back to what was working for them in the first beginning of the second split. Because they won 4 games in a row with Shen support. Or 3 games. There you go.
Very interesting. Would you say that this Lulu could even go top for Dyrus here?
It could. I think it could. It could.
That's TSM playing a bit of their own flex game from the red side here, also with the counter to see what gets picked up. They already have what Bjergsen may want in that mid lane thought out, but depending on these 2 picks, that may change here. Remember, the supports and mid lane were pretty much focused here in the pick ban phase, and still, Gravity was happy with picking up one of those mid laners very early in this.
Yeah, there is a lot of power within the Azir pick.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
The safety. It's what we heard before. If Keen has a good lane, if Keen. If he does, Azir makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, so Evelynn jungle, what will this last pick be? This is when we know whether or not the Shen is a tank, top laner, or tank support. Bunny Fufus, you gotta play Thresh.
Keeping it Thresh.
There it is.
Took away 3 supports from the pool, and it is Bunny Fufu's specialty support, but it's going to be moved, prioritizing the Evelynn over Elise here. That just seems like his style, though. You want to be able to move around the map, not so much contest people in fights, but be able to get objective control and vision control. And counter ganking, too.
Taking a step back, it is a little funny how TSM used 2 support bans on Bunny Fufu, and he's playing Thresh, his best champion.
It's so true.
They got rid of his disengaged supports.
Thresh can disengage too, man. He does everything. Like, it's not the same level of protection, but I wonder about those 2 support bans. They're mainly trying to block specific things with those bans, and Thresh is kind of an all-rounder. Here, though, we'll get to see whether or not this is Bjergsen playing Lulu or something else. Will we see the Jarvan that he's been spamming in solo queue? That's the main question I have here.
Jarvan, Victor Kog'Maw. And that's going to be Dyrus
Olaf.
The top Olaf. We were talking about this. I think this is a huge pick in the current meta for top laners. You get so much priority, and it actually works extremely well against Shen.
Yeah, Shen does not have enough damage really to break through Olaf. Olaf can close the distance and completely destroy him. They also get the Lulu for the move speed plus the Sivir. This is actually a Dyrus comp, which isn't something TSM has ever done.
But if
in my memory.
if you remember, Dyrus bringing out, I believe it was the Rise last playoffs, that he was absolutely able to kill Impact on over and over. Dyrus has shown up in playoffs numerous times, so to start doing it now, I don't know, might be a good thing.
The crazy thing about this as well is Gravity's one of their greatest strengths was flexing things and surprising the opponent in champion select. Yet this particular champion select, it is Gravity on the more common champions that they have played, almost no surprises. But TSM with the red side uses the flexibility and the last pick advantage to pull out something completely unexpected.
Flex.
Now the question will be on execution, guys.
Going to be a very interesting matchup. TSM finally showing a bit of power in the top lane. We'll go over Haunter and Dyrus later. Definitely a different matchup or style of play that we've seen throughout the split, and now that's going to be kind of flipped on top of its head here. Haunter on the tank, Dyrus on the aggressor. All day we'll be checking in to see who you at home think will win this series and move on to the semifinals. Keep voting with the hashtag GVWin or the hashtag TSMWin, and we'll tally those up as we get into and throughout the game. We're just about to be on the Rift here for quarterfinal number 2. Gravity versus Team SoloMid. Both teams fans out to represent here in power, and they're going to need it. It's going to be a long series. We are now on the Rift.
And you were talking about it, Dyrus composition here. Lulu, Sivir, so much speed to get Dyrus into the back line and put threat onto Altec. Altec is the majority damage dealer of Gravity and the highest damage per minute AD carry in the league. If you can shut down Altec and put pressure on him, which we saw other teams doing at the end of the split, which led to the demise of Gravity from first place, That looks like the strategy TSM is going for here.
And we heard Gravity saying if they can protect Keen, things will be good. But Bjergsen knows when you face Keen, you have to be ready for a few surprises.
The thing about playing against Keen is that you never really know what to expect. Even on blue side, he's willing to blind pick champions like Rumble mid, Jarvan mid. He has no fear of what to play or what he'll pull out. So playing against Keen is always fun. He's kind of like that waged out factor. Well, he'll pull out anything at any time.
And one of the funniest things about that during the regular season is Bjergsen actually ended up playing a lot of Keen's surprise picks and learning them for himself. The biggest example of that would be when Bjergsen picked up the mid lane Urgot after getting a little bit destroyed by Keen's Urgot. Obviously, Urgot has kind of disappeared from the general champion pool. Don't need to talk about that now. That's a whole different topic. This game in particular, though, it was actually TSM throwing the curveball. It's not a mid lane curveball. It's actually a top lane curveball, a move speed composition for the top lane Olaf. And I really want to see how Santorin and Dyrus work around this, how TSM works around this, because for this composition to work best, it is top lane priority.
Well, it's already a power move here from Team SoloMid. They feel like they're kind of working off the ball, making sure they can find out where Gravity is. They move together, they move safely, and Gravity also squeaks out.
Really nice. Move wasn't spotted. It was Haunter who was spotted. They went in after him, but Move was able to scout TSM with his vision.
Yeah. So they'll see him with the ward right here. This is another thing. So we've been doing a lot of backwards analysis here, figuring out why Gravity was winning games and why they've kind of fallen off lately, and throwing up kind of the outside of the game aspects that could be true, like the added pressure and teams more preparing for them. When Gravity was at their best, it was the champ select wins with flex picks, and also a lot of their early game strategies, which would give Move a huge advantage at the start of the game. This is another one of those examples where Gravity goes for an early game play, but this one actually sets them behind ever so slightly. It was spotted out, they had to retreat, there wasn't a massive disadvantage, but they are already playing from a little bit of a hole.
This works out for Team SoloMid for now. We'll see if they can continue to adapt or keep a lead for themselves. We know mid-game adaptation for Team SoloMid is where they falter a bit. If Gravity still has a few more tricks in mind, it might be able to throw TSM off. Game's evening out a bit as we are going to see the bottom lane start to reach the turret. TSM almost done with top.
But this is an incredibly fast tower push. This isn't even cannon wave
they're slow in the bot,
now.
actually.
This is where the cannon shows up. So this is the third wave. They did red buff, Raptors, immediately come top with a lower HP Olaf, who has the increased attack speed.
You can tell they've ran this strat a few times. Dyrus tanks a ton in the jungle, increased attack speed with the low health, and now they're going to try and bounce the wave. So this could be one of the long con freeze strategies over here. What an interesting open here. Dyrus may have a frozen lane for himself because Turtle is actually the one heading down to the bottom side on Sivir.
Oh, tricky play to Keen. Spear does hit Javelin, almost giving him enough of what they need. Both summoners used in mid by Keen there.
And that's the pressure that Bjergsen's going to be able to exert on this lane now. He was down a little bit in CS, but Lulu now gets to execute on the lane bully pattern with those summoners down. And Santorin, one of the guys who was actually the first to pick up jungle mid lane. He was playing it even before she got those buffs to the hunt to jungle creeps. So if he can keep visiting his mid lane, it's going to give Bjergsen an advantage, but it is a Dyrus composition. But when you give Lulu a lot of AP, you have a secondary threat in the mid lane as well.
See what kind of wards teams have set up. We don't have sight stones just yet, or the rubies on the junglers to get there. Still just pink and vision wards coming in for Move. He'll keep that going. Unless boy, a ruby crystal behind just now as he has not been able to back. Or again, I should say. 4.5 on the clock. Dyrus, what is this Olaf going to do if he falls behind? How much of a risk is that champion for the top lane?
Well, you definitely don't want it to fall behind because Olaf being able to ignore CC is somewhat of a binary champion. The main thing if he falls behind, though, is he really just has to try and turn himself into a split-pushing threat. Olafs who are ahead can then steamroll into team fights, but especially just in a straight-up Shen versus Olaf matchup, if he is to build a heavy damage build, he just has so much more in the raw statistics category that he can actually have a small item disadvantage and still be a split-pushing threat.
You also don't have too much trouble farming up against this Shen, which is probably why they've brought Move up here as well, for a bit more aggression on that lane.
An unnecessary ghost right there by Dyrus. The taunt from Haunter missed. He was pretty much safe, but he ghosted anyway when he saw the reveal of Move's E. Still, though, because of the early game and the way they bounce the turrets, it is a pretty decent size CS advantage for Dyrus. Down a Ghost, but it's not like he's died yet.
Yeah, they're actually putting a lot of resources into Dyrus at the start of the game. I believe he also got solo turret gold when they killed the turret.
Yep, they let him freeze it. Putting him at already about a 430 gold advantage over Hanser this early in the game. All of TSM's advantage, instead of being channeled towards the mid laner, right now is being channeled towards the top laner.
And this was actually a big problem for TSM coming out of MSI, was they didn't put enough into top lane. They didn't back up Dyrus, and it was a big complaint that we kept hearing from them, is that they needed to be able to run top priority strategies. This is a great example, a great way to start the playoffs off for TSM, if they're trying to remedy that now.
Besides a heavy damage dealer in the mid lane for Bjergsen, it's kind of the compositions they ran at Katowice versus WE. The Sivir comp, damage from his Santorin in the jungle from a Nidalee Jarvan Vi, and Dyrus is actually on a rumble a lot those games, doing damage.
It's something we haven't seen in a long time, too, from Santorin. A damage-dealing jungler. He's usually relegated to Gragas and Rek'Sai, a supportive teamfight jungler. Now he's able to create picks and deal some damage and actually be another AP threat, so you can't just build against this Olaf.
We'll see where they decide to keep going from here. Everybody on the side of Gravity is playing this one very slow with Team SoloMid's lead, as it should be. Let Move get his vision out and let the team grow.
Yes.
That CS is a bit of a difference there in favor of Dyrus, you could say. So he is going to be big. At what point now do we see, should TSM kind of transition, use this power, or do they keep Dyrus in that split push factor?
A lot of it's just going to depend on whether or not they can get advanced wards for Dyrus. He's got this giant minion wave up here, so Hanser should be able to pick up a good amount of the experience. As long as, like, in an ideal world, if TSM was prepping this a whole bunch in advance, they would actually be trying to dive Hanser and push him off this inner turret, because that's the experience in Golby's been waiting for. No one is in position to that, so it's actually Gravity who's prepping to defend that a little bit by having Move on this side of the map. If anything, when this wave hits the turret, TSM would want to transition to Dragon.
Or possibly bottom, look at that bottom lane. I'm actually very curious because you have the Tristana Altec on Gravity's side, and you didn't lane swap it to the opposite side of the map when you took down the bottom turret. You kept it in that lane. And he had a pickaxe advantage over double Thorns. So he could have pushed that turret down fairly quickly.
Maybe feeling kind of dictated by what Team SoloMid was doing at the time, not keeping everything in their ducks in a line for themselves.
You also saw Bjergsen cheat towards the bottom lane here, threatening to dive. Because blue buff was up, they timed it, and you saw Keen leave that lane. So there was no way Keen could make it to that bottom fight if it was going to happen.
Gravity honestly showing a lot of inaction in the early game.
They're in a pink ward, though.
Solo kill.
Really? I think there might have been a trap there or a heal from Santorin to actually get his assist in, but yeah, solo kill indeed.
Yep. It's not a trap. Like, it's literally just Move clearing a ward and not respecting the damage of a mid lane Lulu with Ignite.
I meant a bushwhack trap.
An offensive,
but
of course, bushwhack trap. Helps a little bit. But, geez, this is a disastrous start for Gravity, for sure. Move has been in a slump as of late.
Yeah.
He hasn't really shown much success on champions outside of Nidalee, which makes it all the more perplexing why they didn't first pick Nidalee. They let it fall to TSM. They give them that. This is... So, there's a couple of reasons this could have happened. Gravity has known that TSM has been playing a very simplistic style, and all the communication coming out of the TSM camp is that they are completely going back to basics. Yep. So, you actually wouldn't necessarily, if you're reading too much into that, you wouldn't expect them to then allow Santorin to play Nidalee, to put Dyrus on something like Olaf that requires a lot of farm, to put Bjergsen on a more supportive mid laner when he has been the only person able to do damage on TSM and empowered to do damage. So, this is all the more surprising that TSM is kind of pulling out all the stops in game one of the playoffs, when normally they lose the first game of the playoffs. So a much riskier Team SoloMid, and so far they're executing. Now the question will be whether they can transition that towards the mid game, since this is not a composition they are used to wielding.
It's like you were saying before, and Gravity's playing a little slow. Usually they're the ones that make the first move. That Team SoloMid slowly countered this game. They ran around as 4, made sure Gravity didn't get what they want. That also helped Bjergsen get double buffs as well in the mid lane, so Move loses that. Bjergsen's going to have quite a nice time. A little behind in CS, but they're just clearing waves on each other back and forth.
Okay, now they put Altec into the top lane. They put the Tristana in the lane with the turret that's easy to knock down. So I like this. They're throwing more resources up there. Also, because they first picked this Shen. They first picked Hanser's Shen, and it was getting shut down by what TSM did to it early, and the fact they didn't put it into the long lane afterwards in the bot. So now, this pick needs to be even more effective with less gold on it to justify the priority that it had taken in Champion Select.
See how the AD carries are doing. 1,500 gold right now into Wild Turtle. Where is he? He's actually just back to spend it right now.
Good counter.
Top lane is 3v3, and everybody's going to be backing off here. Should be ults across the board except for the supports just yet. So not too much danger coming from any crowd control there on those two. TSM successfully guarding that top lane as they, as you said, move Altec up to try and get something, but Gravity is stopped.
It's a little too late for that. It's usually a timing thing, where as soon as the other AD carry comes to bot, you go to the opposite lane, you trade 2 turrets on the outside, and then eventually test each other's siege in mid lane.
Hanser been able to get a bit more CS in his favor. Usually been seeing him on some pretty big carry champions this season, but that flex pick Shen we thought for Bunny Fufu went to him, so we're going to have to see the plays come in the fighting phase. And Gravity has not been too keen on those if they do not have the lead. It could start right now, though. A jump in by Santorin. He goes down immediately. Can't really figure out which target he wants in the beginning. He knocks back Lust Boy, and they get the kills they want, so it's TSM overextending a little bit there.
Yeah, it looked like they were trying to get some deep wards in order to prep a push onto the interior turret since they've already broken down the outers on both side lanes. But they were not respecting Hanser's Shen. As far as a first pick priority, I don't necessarily think that you pick a Shen to have a large amount of CS advantage early, but you're picking him for exact moments like that. The rest of the team was still on the same page as they make the collapse, and it did all start with Bunny Fufu, so nice call, nice trust by Gravity, and a nice turnaround to keep him in this game.
That's why he's a good support. You don't need a lot of gold to use his play pattern at all.
Making plays all day. So Bunny Fufu comes up big for the team. 2-1 for Gravity now. Team SoloMid may be a bit tempered on their engages now. Let's see this one more time.
Santorin actually gets, I think he gets buster shotted right into the flay there. So pulled even further than he had thought he was going to go.
TSM actually has no vision of what, or they would have vision of the members in lane, and they just did that blindly.
That was a really, really poor leap forward by Santorin. They had no numbers. The Shen ult had actually started, and he was leaping into Altec towards the fray when, as soon as the Shen ultimate begins channeling, it's time to turn tail and run. If Santorin did not go aggressive on Altec, they could have diminished their losses right there, only had 1 death, but instead, it was 2.
Yeah, these pink wards this game, baiting everybody out. First move, now Santorin.
Baiting them with their own
trying
selves.
to kill Altec.
Lustboy and Santorin still going after the wards. You know, Lustboy was a very big help in upping that ward game for the mid game, I should say, mid game vision for Team SoloMid. Very helpful with that on the team. See if they can keep it going towards Altec in the top lane. Keeps himself safe with a pink, and there won't be a kill coming there from Lustboy and Santorin. But he's still pretty far up here. May lead to something. Dyrus in the bot lane, just keeping that split push going.
And you were talking about how Shen doesn't need a whole lot of gold, but an Olaf with a lot of gold against the Shen, as soon as he gets that black cleaver, he really gets his split push on it. And the fact that his Q will apply it in team fights across multiple people just really opens up Wild Turtle's Ricochet to do more damage, enables the team to actually have multiple threats on it aside from just the Olaf. So I think this is a very good pick with a black cleaver coming in already at 14 minutes with 100 CS.
Jeez.
29 over the Shen. So his split push is definitely online.
Let's head back towards the top side as well. We'll see if he actually gets into any trouble here. The move is going to be backing, so it looks like everybody's kind of taking a break. The gentleman's agreement. Turret's going to be cleared top. No one's there to clear it, so just keep farming the waves on either side. No, Altec still doesn't get it. The team leaves him there alone. This is going to take even more time for Gravity and give TSM time to now move on this bot side of the map.
Yeah, it looked like TSM was a little bit slow in that rotation because Dyrus could have been up there sooner.
Right.
But now Gravity was also a little bit late coming back, or they should have stayed longer to finish it. Kind of caught between 2 choices here, giving TSM a slight edge on the turret damage bottom. It really looks right now like neither team is playing to fight. I think TSM could have the potential to pull off some fights. They need to use the mobility of the Sivir ult to find fights.
Lantern out, hook misses. You might want to disengage on this one. Gravity is still going to look to stop this dragon. It just spawned. TSM has already prepped the wards on it, so Gravity needs to get the vision down if they want to do anything.
Lulu ult down right there. A very perplexing move to cast it that early, making this dragon all the more risky because they can get 5v5'd and collapsed on in this pit. They will not have a Lulu ult.
Yeah, they already pulled Altec down from the top lane, so Dyrus is going to be able to free farm in the top lane and shove that turret out if he wants to, but he's also just prepping TP just in case.
Nice positioning by
He can actually
Gravity.
push this more, yeah. He stops his back to continue.
Well, he was on a ward as well, so they can see what he's doing. Looks like he's going to try to take Gromp here, and he's going to keep it. He's going to let the wave build up. He'll have more at the turret. That's not already getting crushed, but his back is coming in. See if this actually becomes a home guard for him.
Yeah, if he shows
the
top...
team is deciding.
If he
It's
shows
still a
top,
decision.
it gives you priority on Dragon.
Right.
Because you have your TP up there. Shen would have to get up there to match him, or you just send all 5 people into the Dragon Pit even then.
This is that not want to fight you were talking about, Chad.
Yeah,
They're just dancing around each other. They're setting up for a bushwhack here on the bot side. Not going to find anybody wandering through the jungle. Gravity knows better than that.
Yeah, nice defensive ward there that Gravity has on the side.
Evelyn's coming for a flank. I don't know if they want this. Keen looks like he's also trying to come around.
Oh, that's a pink
Right
ward,
to pink
bud.
ward.
Oh, move. This is not going to feel very good. He gets taken down. Another initiation. We saw the same thing in mid. Move gets himself into trouble alone. Altec gets hit up now. Winter's bite, but he's able to jump out. And Dyrus,
on the wrong side.
Dyrus not on the right side. Lulu ultimate is up. They're going to go ahead and use that onto Dyrus, and they should be good. Wild Growth keeping him safe. Lust Boy hook. Nobody can really go in under that. Winter's bite almost hits to finish with Santorin's javelin, but they dodge it out.
Yeah.
Bjergsen flashes forward, getting a little hyphy on the side of TSM, but they know they have the turret. They're going to start backing out. Only 2-2 after all that scuffle.
Yeah, big win though. That's now 4 turrets
Right.
to 1. And the big thing is that TSM beat Gravity to the punch there. They expected a flank move from Eve, so yes, they did spot Eve in the pink ward, but they were also there to meet Eve pretty much as soon as Move walked into the area. Hanser then ulted in, so it erupted into a 5v5, but TSM had the jump on him, which is the big reason he came out ahead of him.
And all these pink wards that are being placed around the map for both sides are causing these conflicts. People are fighting over the vision game, but also right there, it's TSM being able to get the jump because they were playing the vision game behind them and being conscious of the Evelyn, giving it its due diligence, giving it their attention to these wards. So it's good placement on their flanks.
Great placement. Gravity as well. Seems like they're itching to get back into this one if they're going to run back into a completely TSM-covered jungle of their own.
Every conflict this game has so far started with a pink ward or involved a pink ward in some way.
Yeah.
Cleared them all. Well, the pink is finally cleared by Altec in the bottom. You see him run away from the tri-brush. Hanser trying to clean up his side of the jungle, and Move doing the same. A little bit of repairing here to do. They're 4K down. Those turrets and the control of the map just all going to Team SoloMid. Back to fundamentals for them, really. We haven't seen them kind of push themselves beyond their means. They're just doing it all step by step.
One thing that could end up being a story in this game from a team composition perspective is what type of backline access is TSM going to have? Because if Keen and Altec get into late game and begin to free hit, specifically Keen on Azir, the question will be whether or not Dyrus has enough dive to finish him off. He's going to be a really fast Olaf. He'll be immune to all the crowd control, but he still won't be able to run through the Azir wall. So if Keen can put himself in the right position, that is still impassable terrain. But he's going to be so fast that I don't know, and he's so powerful that it's probably going to be enough for them to go through. But if there is a fight, Gravity, even with a gold deficit, because of the backline damage they have, could turn some team fights in their favor.
Well, technically, Gravity's where they want to be because they do have the if Keen scenario. If Keen gets through laning phase, okay. If Keen, he is. 1 kill, yeah, he may be down 10 CS, but that's
If
still
Dyrus
fine
catches
for...
Keen.
Yeah, if Keen gets caught, though, there's the barrier.
Oh.
Huge shield coming in as well with the Stand United. Not going to be able to burst through that with any amount of damage, and that was a lot used to save Keen.
So that was an interesting interaction right there. When I'm talking about the Azir wall, the knockback that it provides counts as crowd control, but the actual end position is what Dyrus can't run through. The wall can go through him if he's Olaf ulted, but he can't technically go through the wall. It's very confusing to think of that way, but that's what happened.
The Keen looked a little confused.
But it actually makes Keen incentivize using it earlier.
Yeah.
Because if Dyrus makes it into base contact with you, you're stuck there. And he's going to get Lulu ultied, and you're basically permanently slowed while he's next to you.
This makes it very hard to peel the Olaf.
Yes.
I actually wasn't 100% sure in the interaction until seeing that exact play.
Right.
So Dyrus is going to make Keen's life very hard.
So going Hex Drinker as well, so he wants a little bit of damage with that magic resist mitigation. Good to go there. 30 CS still up onto Haunter, but Haunter's being Shen still. He saw the shield he could provide for Keen, but we did not see what they could do because the fight could not continue, really. Infinity Edge and Zeal all ready for Wild Turtle. See how much cash Alltech had in his pocket. 1,300, so he's on a Zeal as well, sitting on maybe a little bit more right to a Shiv to get these lanes pushed, possibly. Abyssal Scepter for Santorin. He's feeling pretty good about his build as well. Move is just trying to get tanky right now in his recipe.
Yeah, you typically trying to judge the damage that Gravity has in their team composition right now. It is very magic damage heavy. Runeblade, Eve, Shen doing a lot of his damage with Sunfire and Vorpal Blade. Again, magic damage. Azir, all magic damage. And Tristana, while it is a physical damage AD carry, very bursty with damage in teamfights, not that high of a sustained rate. So definitely expect the builds to trend on the side of magic resist for TSM, and that's their best play for upcoming games.
Yeah, Abyssal Scepter for Santorin.
You can do stuff like that now because the Runeblade gives you a lot of the mana back. Previously, you kind of had to go Tyr or Roa on the Nidalee, but you're not locked into that build anymore.
I really like this build because it doesn't have that ramp-up time to it. You stay relevant in the mid-game and even stronger than you were before. You don't have to wait on a Tyr or a Roa.
Yep.
But speaking of damage threats, though, this gold advantage has kind of crept up over time.
TSM items just got explosive.
It's from these turrets. So if you actually look at the gold, Santorin's up 1,000 despite being only 10 CS up and even kills.
And a lot of that is from the map controls, Irene, because Gravity's the team with the turret killing ability. They have Trist and Azir, probably the best AD carry and best mid laner for killing turrets. But TSM has always just been the first one there. They've had more time on the turrets. They've kept their lanes shoved because they have a tremendous wave clear within their team, and they're just not giving Gravity the windows in which to kill turrets.
And they have all this vision control on the left side. So many pink wards. They have scuttle control. This Baron is
probably
gone. You can't really face check this area.
Yeah, Gravity would watch it. They have a Scrying Orb off cooldown, so they should be using it, and they should be charging that zone right now. They just popped the Scrying Orb.
They'll get there a little late.
Vision, Santorin's actually quite low after this. That's going to be the smite down. Keen comes in very big, but Dyrus is around the wall. He's actually going to use Ragnarok to get himself right out. Everybody dodges the hook. Move! That's a big hit by Move as he comes in with the ultimate. TSM's going to have to scatter on this one. Bjergsen and Dyrus both go down after that, but they have Baron. The lanes can be in their favor now. See if Gravity can work anything off of this. The waves aren't there to take down the turrets, unfortunately, but they might be able to set up some wards that could really pay off.
How TSM was allowed to get that much vision control of Gravity's jungle was because of the fact they had the top turrets down, the mid turret down, and they just spent all their time there, and Gravity allowed them to do that.
Yeah.
The pink wards being around the entrance points too, they would have been able to spot Move out if he was trying to counter ward that area.
Yeah. The cost of that Baron actually is pretty high though. TSM loses 2, they give up the Dragon, their 5 Dragon counter is gone. Because of the kills as well, and if you're counting the effective gold at the 6% attack damage and ability power that Gravity gets, unless TSM knocks down another outer turret with this Baron buff, I actually say that's a loss for TSM in the long run. Even with the ward coverage of Gravity being around the Dragon Pit, they probably should have suspected when all of TSM is MIA, also not prepping the Dragon Pit and also not in lanes. Gravity about 5 seconds slower than they should have been reacting to that. And if they would have reacted in turn, maybe it could have been even more disastrous for TSM. Look at how low they actually did get from this Baron.
Very sneaky.
Therefore, they don't want to turn and burn on this one. They just run away. But they come back a little bit for Dyrus, which groups them up, gives Move a great opportunity for a 5-man Eve ultimate. Percentage health and the slow allows him to pick up 2 nice kills.
The Hunter with the just edge taunt there. Turn him around and pick up the kill on Bjergsen.
Definitely can't count Gravity out. They know how to find the fights at the right time, and 24 minutes in, they were waiting quite a while for that. It's only 2-2 before that, and only 2 kills came of the Baron attempt. Aegis quickly being built up, now finished on to Lustboy. As we were saying, that item spike was in TSM's favor, and Gravity was actually able to pull out a possible win. During that time, there was a ping on the blue buff that TSM saw Gravity take it down, so they may be able to work off that again. The double sight stone of Santorin and Lustboy has been coming up big for vision in that area.
then they have to abuse that vision. They have to put it throughout multiple lanes right now and get this middle turret down. Be with the Baron buff. There they go. That's how they're going to equalize the turrets with it. And now they have to crack the base somehow. And this is going to be testing every lane pretty much simultaneously. Split push, put wards on both sides of the jungle. It's the Gravity's jungle. And keep going between them. You have a Sivir, you can out-rotate, you can go for a fight if they mess up much faster.
Let's see if TSM's experience here in these playoffs come into play here. Already, the fundamentals are working. We haven't seen them go outside the box just yet. But the fundamentals and adapting from game to game are kind of where they are strong. If Gravity does something big in-game, that's what we're looking for. If TSM can adapt on the spot. Right now for that Baron fight, it's the only real edge that Gravity has had in this game. Still now down 5,000 gold. TSM, they're going to start hitting these inhibitor turrets up. And once they can spread Gravity across the front of their base, it's going to be hard to split this team up.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to actually crack this base without some type of fight or incredibly long run around within the base.
Right.
Sivir, very low range AD carry. They have a lot of move speed, but they really don't have very good range to assault on turrets. Add that to the fact that the catch potential for an Azir team near the base is super high. If King pulls off one of those Shurima Supermans where he just kind of flies in behind the team.
We're just changing the name every week.
Yeah, may as well. And then ults his team back into the turret. Having that Azir wall and trapping multiple people within the turret, since TSM is very short ranged, is devastating. So therefore, if TSM plays it smart, they can't group 5 in front of a turret. It's going to be a very 1-3-1 type, 1-4-1, lots of rotations, and probably will just end up being more Dragon and Baron timers, that we could be in for a long game if this one's played to expected.
Yeah, they'd have to test all the lanes, but even then, you have Bunny Fufu on Thresh. The catch potential is huge if one person is caught out. And Keen has the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. You talked about Nazir just supermanning in. All he has to do is poke them. And if he can actually catch up to them and deal enough damage, it pushes them away. You get to counter the pressure and then push all lanes out. Because if one person gets chunked out in the lane, it actually affects all the other ones too.
Yep. Looking at Gravity's items, they seem to be playing this very safe. Bunny Fufu to finish all the way at the face of the mountain. Sometimes we'll see that Talisman of Ascension or a Cell to Righteous Glory. Interesting. They want to be very defensive in all these plays. Lucidity boots as well, give him time to hook and peel for his team. But we kind of see that idea that Gravity's working with right now, knowing TSM's trying to set up these gank brushes, get an edge in the middle of the map, and then crush down. Not going to work this time, though. Gravity playing it very safe and measured. Minute and 40 just about on both of the objectives to come back on the map. And I think that's when TSM kind of get the fight they're trying to bait Gravity into.
Yeah. And I have to mention the irony in Move right now. Not having boots. He is.
Oh, man.
This entire season, he's been all about mobility and wards, and he has neither a Sightstone nor boots.
He did upgrade Trinket.
Yeah, with the upgraded Trinket.
And he has W.
Do not expect a Sightstone from Move at any point in this game, because he can hit his ward cap with that Trinket, unless he eventually decides to go over to Sweeper, which he doesn't really care about because he's only worried about pink wards in this specific instance.
Yeah.
So this is the right play for him in this instance. But the boots, those should be his next items.
He's 2,000 gold behind Santorin right now, who got a Sightstone off of Italy, which was Move's thing. He's stealing his thing. Everybody stole his thing when Move actually started doing that. Yep. Speaking of Move, he's going for an engage here. Going to the back.
Whoa. See how quickly they can get this one. Dyrus going all the way through. He's actually on to Haunter, one of the tankier guys. They get Move in the front, though, and he goes down immediately. He's only got his jungle item and a Locket of the Iron Solari. Not enough to keep him alive. TSM now staring. I guess GV would be staring down the barrel. TSM's ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah, interesting the Gravity went in for that one despite their gold deficit, and knowing how well they are suited to anti-sieging, especially since Baron and Dragon are not up yet.
Yeah, but they're almost up and the jungler's down. So Gravity actually throw away a little bit of an opportunity and more to TSM. They get to claim a blue, they get to claim vision control of this area, and you can see Shen ultimate is down. Dyrus has his TP down, so now you're seeing that TSM is going to group up for this next objective, and it looks like they're going for a pick here.
Trying to use their speed.
The Whimsy combo with Braum, Winter's Bite, slow that in. Concussive blows, lock up, and that guy isn't going anywhere. They're trying it each time. Each time they try it, Gravity becomes more and more aware, so it's only going to be harder. A lot of damage taken there, even with the stand behind me. Or Unbreakable, I should say. And he gets out of that one.
Can't really sneak a Baron anymore. It's not a fast Baron killing team.
No, definitely not. They're all about the mobility. So they do have all ultimates up except for the Braum ult on TSM side. So
Dyrus is going again.
Effectively, this is working well for Team SoloMid. From top to bottom, they have just been slowly shredding Gravity's health bars. Now finally bait them into that dragon fight and whittle them down even more. This may not be kills. They're definitely funneling in on this one. The focus is hard on the hunts there. Nothing's going to actually finalize a kill, though. Move is already down from previously. We'll see if he can come back up into this fight here.
Yeah, it synchronizes with a very large minion wave, which is all too convenient for TSM. This could actually be the inhibitor because there are not enough home guard boots on Gravity right now to recall and defend this.
One kill for a turret and an inhib to pick up there. TSM, it's not even a trade, that's what they got on their side.
Yeah, well, so much of this game has been Bjergsen blowing his Lulu ultimate very early in a defensive fashion. This time, when they forced the Dragon, Gravity moved to defend 4v5, and TSM was able to use the Lulu ultimate offensively. Dyrus ran in, they got the Lulu ultimate, they blew them up. But in doing so, now they are exposed to a potential Baron. Azir crushes this thing. TSM slow on the recalls.
Much faster. Can he even steal it?
No, it's Baron.
Oh boy, that was close.
Wow. So in getting the inhibitor, TSM overexposed themselves. That's a tough one to lose, but Gravity, because their recalls were basically synced to eventually get the inhibitor, that's the way it worked, but we gotta go over this fight one more time.
Yeah, this is the combo right here. You get Dyrus into the back line with his ultimate, with his movement speed increase from it, and then you give him the Lulu ultimate, and if your team is lagging behind, he just slows everybody down for you with his axes, with the Lulu ultimate on him. And then it's just movement speed increase after movement speed increase to trail this fight off.
I don't know how they
It's a great combo.
Fast feet from Gravity there to get out of that.
And we even talked about how if Dyrus gets separated when he dives in, he's still going to have the movement speed slow on him.
Yeah.
That by the time your team is freed up, they'll catch him.
I have a great composition for catching.
Long
Seems like it's been
range,
the one person, so really big credit to Gravity for being able to dip and dodge these crowd control effects coming in from Team SoloMid here and there.
It's that chase down.
Yeah. So Baron now for Gravity, they can do a little repair work on these lanes, get it pushed out, maybe to the river, and find a fight in the jungle that they can actually control here. Team SoloMid does not have as many wards as they did previously towards that top side. It's all on the bottom now, and that inhibitor's already gone, so they're going to have to get those wards moving. Cleaning up blue buff for now. Should keep Team SoloMid very safe, but Team SoloMid has to be wondering. Many games have happened like this for them this year. You can even think back to the first game versus Cloud9, where it becomes a late game falter. Keen can do that on Azir. There are plays to be made from this team still. It's pretty tricky.
And
Gravity just seems so measured when they go at it.
Gravity's definitely doing a lot to stay in this game. Being able to sneak the Baron after the inhibitor goes down, being able to get that one Dragon when TSM did pick up the Baron. When TSM is going for the big game-winning plays, Gravity's been doing enough to neutralize it and stay close. And that's the type of thing that can really stretch these games out and make the next mistake game-deciding. Basically, since Gravity took the Baron buff, the next real TSM push can't come until Baron is up again, which is a good 7 minutes after.
The small things they've done, even that one Dragon, they were able to put themselves in between, have stopped Team SoloMid from really having a huge win condition here. Nice little base set up outside on the half of Team SoloMid here with the legacy of Shurima, but it doesn't look like they can even really control it that much without a big minion wave. So it's just to stall out the game, still allowing their lanes to push out nicely here. They may be able to get up something on Team SoloMid. Dyrus is now going to have to take care of bottom and respect that wave as Gravity sets up some defense.
So I'm looking at Bunny Fufu's build, and I'm half hoping that that's a Zeke's Harbinger to enable Altec. Because it could be a Frozen Heart, but I do want to see the Zeke's out of him. Altec is just so much of this team's damage. It would give him the 100%, or really close to 100% crit rate there with the static Shiv, that it would definitely enable him to be a large carry threat. If Dyrus dives him, he's going to get crit multiple times, and he may not even survive.
That's exactly the item that Gravity actually needs to face this specific TSM iteration. TSM's putting everything on a Dyrus, and the only way you stop a speeding Olaf is killing. So whatever type of burst damage they can do is the greater. Way back in Season 2, back when top lane Olaf was very, very popular, there was always this swing moment in the games. Whenever the AD carry becomes powerful enough to kill the Olaf, the game ends. Olaf can no longer win the game at that point because prior to that, he's always just being able to steamroll and crush that person.
Yeah.
AD carries did scale much more aggressively back then, and there's been some top lane itemization that makes that even harder. But with the Zeke's Harbinger, it may be a call back to that time. It won't be until Altec is near max items. And when you're adding in the fact that there's a Lulu ult and Lulu shields, maybe we never reach that point.
Exactly.
But that's what Gravity should be going for.
And you were also talking about top lane itemization. It looks like it might be a Thorn Mail. It is just a cloth armor, but he is clearly itemizing against Altec. The Ninja Tabi on top of the Randuins, and then another armor item in the works for Dyrus.
He knows it's going to sting. I mean, he'll be running right past Keen, right? Keen's going to be focusing other things. You don't have enough soldier moves to follow where Dyrus is going. So I do like it. The Maw of Mount Mortius already built in. Santorin, a little bit of safety with his Zanyas built up now. Just completely a core item ahead of Move at this point. And Move went mobility boots as well when he finally did hit them in the jungle.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast, I guess.
Yeah, the largest goal discrepancy is between junglers. It's 3,000 in favor of Santorin.
Gonna be difficult. Move just trying to put in the cheeky plays here. If he can get a few to be made, the team may be able to squeak themselves back in with, as you guys were saying, Altec's power, or maybe a good play from Keen here on Azir. Yeah, Santorin and the rest of the team setting up in the side brush. Nothing gonna come of this, but reset minion waves in the mid, back and forth. I think we'll get this for a few minutes until they decide to go for one of the objectives.
They love this push. They love baiting out the Baron, but what they also accomplished by having this line of pink wards is they protect it for 3 minutes. There's no way Gravity has any wards behind them in the Baron pit. So then they get to set this up. This is a play that's actually making it so that they have this controlled in a minute and a half when the Baron does come in. So being very stubborn with this area. This is my land.
Yeah, they need to be. That's basically the last win condition TSM has. It's a little bit surprising they're not trying to utilize Dyrus more in the split push role against Haunter. Haunter, though, really, really heavily prioritizing armor. It's very hard for Dyrus to cut through him in a substantial way. And because of the Lulu Sivir, Dyrus is a very key component of their team fighting. So they're kind of bringing a split push champion, but since they need it for team fights, they end up grouping more frequently. And yeah, this game will be hinging around these objectives, since that is what TSM needs to control, and also it's what they need to draw Gravity out of their very effective trouble.
Bjergsen has a lot of AP at this point. He's got 600 exactly, and the Luden's Echo.
Yeah.
So he's a very large AP damage threat, hitting the level 18 already. So it's not just Dyrus you have to worry about anymore.
Move getting hit. Playing a little scary, but he still has the safety. Keep doing what he's doing.
Dyrus canceled TP.
That's not good. They needed that TP for
also going
threat. He could have also come in with home guards if he would have recalled. Instead, he gets distortion boots, more frequent ghosting, and a faster ghost.
Got to go fast.
That's really all
Everybody
this
wants
is.
to go fast this game.
Remember, with the 600 AP, that puts Bjergsen's Wild Growth at a 900 health shield, not even counting the 600 health he's going to be getting from pick shields. So it's if he puts both of those things onto Dyrus, it's an extra 1,500 health. It's basically a whole person on top.
Gravity is literally doing everything they need to not fail in one of these fights.
Right
now to Dyrus, the team's gonna go huge. Haunter doesn't get a taunt there, but it's still enough pressure to push Dyrus out with both summoners down now after that teleport was used.
That's disaster. TSM gives up Dragon for no contest and then loses their Ghost and Ultimate on their main engage, and then they fight! What?
Altec takes the Lantern back. He's safe. Enough peel for him to dish out the damage on the back line, and Lustboy and the rest of the team, they can't close that. Haunter gives a quick shield, but he's also able to get that one out. His teammate goes down, and now Team SoloMid back and forth with Gravity in the mid lane, and it looks like Bjergsen rather on the Lulu, able to pick up Bunny Fufu here after the hook goes through. A triple kill for him as he comes out very big, and Santorin's able to clean up the turret from that Azir as they push down mid lane. Inhibitor coming in for Team SoloMid. Looks like they may go down for the bot lane here. They're going to get mid, then bot.
They have their AD carry and a minion wave against just Shen with long death timers. This
mid
be the game.
Oh
my goodness.
Lustboy's ultimate was key in that. It kept Altec in range because he had to walk all over the slow field, and they picked him up, and then they just ran all over the team with the speeds. This was how this comp is built, and it worked out perfectly there. They're just going to end the game.
What a ridiculous fight to put Team SoloMid in the base of Gravity at the end. Altec jumping forward. Gravity not being able to close the gap, and Team SoloMid found the fight that they wanted and had been prepping for the last 10 minutes in mid.
men, that's one way to end it. Like, yes, TSM won that fight. We need to look at that again because the whole slow play and prepping and anything you would expect from the TSM team of having Dyrus run in with Ragnarok and Ghost and then zoning the team fights, and none of that happened.
Yeah.
That was a complete mess of a last team fight. But TSM outplayed Gravity. Gravity had more positional errors because if we're following the logic of when TSM should have been fighting, it was not then.
Yeah.
But unless Gravity exposes themselves to an extent that it is punishable, that's what happened, and the game just ended.
Exactly. I also was talking about how Lulu Bjergsen actually became a big threat there. You saw his damage in that last team fight. Dyrus was just out of that fight at the top, and that was mostly the damage from Turtle and Bjergsen stepping up in that last fight. You thought it was a Dyrus comp. Turns out,
should have been.
It's not.
But yeah, if he gets caught before a fight, uses all summer spells, then the rest of the team's going to have to do it.
But it worked. They baited a lot out. Altec jumped forward, doesn't have his rocket jump for an escape at that point, and they're able to pick them off.
40 minutes in, Gravity take down Team SoloMid, should say take down Gravity. And fundamentals were absolutely the key here. TSM didn't go outside the box. They didn't go crazy. They kept a plethora of wards down all the time if that mid-fight did go long, and it did in the end. But they had this set plan the entire time, and Gravity was avoiding it until they themselves just threw it out the window.
They claimed it was back to basics, but that did not look like a basic TSM.
You don't think so?
That was a different strategy there from them.
Well, to sit in the mid, yes. But you got to remember, though, when they played the Lissandra, they played Elise still. They had a hook from Thresh. They'd say, sit in this bush. Let's do it again. If you remember Bjergsen saying that, we'll do this over and over again.
Compositionally wise,
and we'll grab
how they
one.
played the early game, it was a different looking
Okay,
TSM.
right. Okay, cool. I got you
Cool.
there.
Good job, guys.
I know what you mean now.
Nice.
Boom.
There you go.
Great job. All right, for lowdown on TSM's win now, let's toss it over to our analyst desk.
Thank you, Riv. Guys, at the beginning of the show, we identified a lot of the issues TSM had coming into playoffs. Well, they came out game one with some answers.
Yeah, I mean, these are the things that I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks for TSM, empowering the rest of the members to be able to make plays. They not only do they give Santorin the Nidalee that he's wanted to play for so long, they put Dyrus on the Olaf. Bjergsen is an enabler with the Lulu, speeding people up and providing defense for them. And this level, the lane swap opening that they had was absolutely beautiful. To get Dyrus ahead at the beginning of this game, taking the turret so quickly and allowing him to back and get back to lane at full health with an item buy before Haunter even gets up there, and then shove it all the way to the second turret there. What that does is create pressure on the opposite side of the map because there's a triple wave stacked at your secondary turret, presents Gravity with a catch-22. They either have Haunter teleport in and try and save this dying turret in the bottom lane and lose 3 waves top, or they leave him top and they give up another turret, which TSM used to chain through the early game. Then their mid-game handoff after that was a little bit shaky, but the opening was really good.
Yeah, and there's actually a bunch of interesting theoretics on the Olaf push that came down because you have an overextended top laner without flash. Like, I guess his teleport might have been up, I don't remember at the time, but like, pushing really far down, like that's a champ that could be ganked, and he had no backup from Bjergsen, no backup from Santorin. I knocked something over. We're good though. Yeah, he had no backup from his team, but like Gravity didn't even punish that at all though, which is interesting. You know, mid laner's already getting pushed in. There's not a lot of you could have done to back him up, but it was interesting that like no one even did anything about the solo push Olaf.
Move had a rough game.
Yes, he did.
I've been in that situation before. You get a little too close to that mid lane when the mid laner out levels you. Gravity here going over those mistakes at this moment. But one of the scariest things as a jungler, especially in that stage of the game, right around where mid laners are hitting level 6, you do not want to go there unless you're absolutely sure you have vision everywhere, and you definitely don't want to solo the mid laner.
I do want to dissect this TSM strategy a little bit from Gravity's point of view. As we mentioned, you know, changing to a more top carry oriented team comp here with the Olaf, enabling him with the Sivir as well as the Lulu plus his Ghost. How do you, from the Gravity perspective, being on the losing end of this, attack that strategy moving forward?
I think you can test the champion pool, right? Because we haven't seen this style in like 2 years from TSM. How many carry champions in the top lane does Dyrus actually know? I mean, it's a cute champ select play, pick the Lulu, pretend it's Dyrus's, and then pick the Olaf later on. But how many more of these strategies exist? How many more carry tops are there for TSM? If it's just Olaf, it takes you one ban or a first pick or something like that as Gravity or blue side next game, and then TSM have to go back to a different style, right? If Dyrus is the only guy who stepped up in practice for the last 2 weeks, and it's only Olaf, then there you go. Bam, one ban, one pick.
That is one option. I think that even if they do decide to address it in Champ Select, you have to address the lane swap advantage that they got, because whatever champion he's on, with that sort of advantage, it's going to make the matchup rough for Hanser. And to Hanser's credit, he even did all right.
Yeah.
With the disadvantage that he was forced to eat coming out of the lane swap, he still was able to do Shen things.
Yeah, we've hammered home the idea that both of these teams are looking to return to form, right? At one point, they were at the top of the table, no longer. For Gravity, what that was really innovative champion picks or out-of-the-box champion picks and innovative early game strategy. Well, here they got beat in the early game. So the question is, where does that come from COP? Is that something that they're not doing pre-game, or are they not adjusting well to the circumstances when presented with them?
I really think it's Gravity not adjusting to what their team is like right now. For example, TSM returned to form by being good, but what they did was they gave priority to Dyrus. They gave him a champion that deserves priority, gave him priority. He does well. TSM reinvented, honestly, in some way, and became good again. Gravity, I don't think have realized that they're not doing very well anymore. Like, I don't like Tristana as a primary damage dealer.
Out of context, that's a pretty
oblivious
good
to
quote.
the fact that they're not doing well. I understand your meaning.
So just in champ select-wise, for example, right? Like, Hanser says, I know I can beat Dyrus. And he gets a really supportive AD carry, right? They're playing Tristana, who doesn't do all that much damage. Keen's not going to be winning lane against Bjergsen. Move's still doing really poorly. Like, Altec and Hanser are the only consistent players right now on this team who could deal damage, and neither of them are in a position to carry.
Now, before we move out of this segment, I do want to call up a replay. It's the final fight of the game. Jat asked to look at it again. So for his sake, we're going to pull that up on your screen right now, and we'll go through it. We'll go ahead and roll this one out right away.
Yeah, so Silverulti comes in, the hardcore dive, and Keen separating up against Bjergsen just doesn't do very well in the duel, and he gets circled around on here. The frontline dive just sort of Lustboy cutting back well. Move just continually not tanky enough. He was down 3,000 to 4,000 gold under Santorin, so just there is no really big frontline here. Hanser goes mostly untouched to the very end, and when you get to bypass all that, TSM honestly playing a pretty split-up composition, which Sivir helps, of course. She pops the ulti. You get the buff for the full duration, whether she's in range still or not. Lets TSM find all these individual fights with the gold lead, play around the Azir turret, barely even hits anyone.
Yeah, Bjergsen goes all the way around, pops in with the Luden's Echo proc to take down Keen there. But I also want to point out, not only is it the champions and the early game that they're using to enable these guys, you can see it in their playstyle. Turtle's allowed to flash forward. He did it a couple times.
He did it a couple times.
A couple times to try and chase people down. Now, you never want to give people an ultimatum to be like, you never do flash forward or something like that. In the right scenarios, you can. Of course. Of course, they don't want him to go back to the 1 versus 5 flashes. But it was him flashing forward at times when it was appropriate. And Santorin as well. He went for an early gank mid. He flashed forward as well on the Nidalee. I want to keep highlighting this because Santorin on one of these champions where he can be aggressive early.
Yeah, what's also interesting too, though, Zyrene mentioned it a little bit. There's this deceptive amount of damage that was coming out of the Lulu there because Dyrus was chunked out at the beginning of that fight. He had pulled so much attention from Gravity that, ultimately Lulu was, Bjergsen was able to come around the backside and eliminate a couple people. And so, funnily enough, 20k damage coming out of Bjergsen, the most in the game.
But he's only a third of the team's total. Everyone else shared really well.
True. Very true.
I think people overestimate the lack of damage on Lulu.
Through the first 30, she's great.
All right, well, there you have it. Switching gears for just a minute, we want to throw out a question to all of you on Twitter, rather. Today, we're sharing the caster question love, and this time it's our Pun Master General. Freak's turn in the hot seat. Send us your questions by tweeting at LOL Esports with the hashtag #WhatTheFreak. There you have it. As you get to tweeting, we're going to reset for Game 2 between Gravity and TSM. Don't go anywhere. The action continues after this.
Don't ask him about a desert island either. That one.
You feel good?
I feel good.
You feel good?
I feel good.
You feel good?
I feel good.
A jump in by Santorin. He goes down immediately. Can't really figure out which target he wants in the beginning.
Nice.
He knocks back Lustboy. Keen comes in very big, but Dyrus is around the wall. He's actually going to use Ragnarok to get himself right out. Everybody dodges the hook.
Nice. I take stump. Yeah. Hello's Altec. Go to Hanser. I'm coming over for Bunny. Alright, we win this.
Can we end here?
We can end.
What a ridiculous fight to put Team SoloMid in the base of Gravity at the end.